Well, hello everybody, it's Ronnie with Whip and Chain. I work with Maggie and Lauren to bring you fun crochet tutorials. Today we have a beautiful one, this curly top hat. It is a very easy pattern, works up very nice. I decided to make my curly tops two different lengths. This is my version of a hat that I saw. I did not buy or copy anybody's pattern. And I'm going to show you a nice way to seam it where you can't even tell it was seamed, as you can see. And it works up very quickly. So we're going to dive right into this, okay? All right, let's dive into making this beautiful hat. Now understand, I did not buy any patterns. I did not buy any products to copy this. This is my interpretation of this hat. And I want to share it with you because I actually think it's a very, very pretty hat. So a couple things that you're going to need. I'm going to highly, strongly recommend stitch markers. You're going to need a few of these because it's going to just keep your project in the shape that it needs to be. So strongly, strongly recommend these. Okay. And your choices of yarn. If you want to stick with one color, you can stick with one color. I chose this, was almost, it was falling apart. So the skein. So this is Hobby Lobby. This is just white yarn. And then the multicolor, I had this in my stash and I decided to use it. This color, I don't even know if they make it anymore. It's been in my stash forever. It's called Bouquet. They might, I don't know. But it's a good multicolor yarn. So now if you're going to be making, oh, and most importantly, a 5mm crochet hook works best for this project. Now we're going to start off with a chain. If you're going to make this for a child, you want your chain like a child 3 to 10 years old, no longer the chain of like 19 inches, okay, maybe even 18-ish. If you're going to make, let me rephrase that. For a child, the chain should be 7.5 to 8 inches. For an adult small, 8 to 8.5 inches. Adult medium, 8.5 to 9 inches. And if you're doing an adult large, 9 to 9.5 inches. And these are all just suggestions. You can do any length that you feel. If you want it longer to make a slouchy hat, you can actually do that too. So you start with whatever color you want. And I'm going to just do a small sample because I have the other one for putting it together all ready to go, but I want to show you what to do. So you're going to make your chain. Now, again, a child, 7.5 to 8 inches. Adult small, 8 to 8.5. Adult medium, 8.5 to 9 inches. And adult large, 9 to 9.5. That's how long you make your chain. Excuse me. So I'm going to make a small chain. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I'm going to go with 16. Just, I don't know, that's the number I picked. But you want to keep your chain going to the specifications that I suggested for the size that you're making this for. Okay, so before we do anything, I want you to take your first stitch marker, pull a loop, take your hook out, turn this over. See these back horizontal loops? That's what we're going to be working in, but not quite yet. The second horizontal loop, horizontal bar, put your stitch marker right in there. Very, very important. Okay. Now, this is, you can make the same for a child too, or you can make it smaller. Now for this one, I'm going to chain 16. So I want you to do a chain of 16. Nine, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now, we don't have to use the back horizontal bar, but the second loop from the hook, and each one I want you to put in 3 single crochets. Put in 3 in the first one, single crochets, guys, 3 in the next. And then you just keep going all the way down to 1 before the end. Do not put it in every single chain. Put it in 3 in each one, except for the very, very last stitch. So it's 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3 in each chain. So we're going to go all the way down. And this is how you're making the curls. This is free all over the internet to find out how to make these little curly cues in crocheting. I've done these in previous projects for years. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to meet you at the end. Okay. So here is my stitch marker, and I stopped 1 before it. See how nice this curls? So now, where your stitch marker is, you're going to put in half double crochets, all in these back loops going all the way down. So what I want to do is put a half double in that first one, and then before I do anything else, I'm going to take that stitch marker out and mark it in that first half double that I did. And then I'm going to go down the row of just putting all the way down of your hat. You're going to put in half double crochets. Excuse me. Doing it this way, when you seam this up, is going to make it so much easier and look, it's going to make your seam look more invisible. So we go all the way down. I do want to warn you, this hat has a lot of end weaving, but I think this hat's worth it. Okay, when you reach the end, you chain 1 and you turn, and then we're going to do half double crochets, but back loop only. And after you do your first one, this is again where I'm going to suggest that you put in your stitch markers and just keep bringing them up each row with you, because that is going to really define when you stitch this together, keeping it even. So it's back loop only, half double crochets all the way up to your stitch marker, and put 1 in your stitch marker. So when you call them all the way up, you put one in where your stitch marker is. You take your stitch marker out and you move that up. Now if you're going to do the different colors like I have done, cut your yarn, leave a nice long enough tail. Now remember, we're in our last stitch on the base of the hat. So pull your yarn tight. Bring your new yarn up. Just lay it over. You do not have to do a slip knot. Lay it over. Now this color we chained 16. Okay? Go through. Tighten it up. This color I'm chaining 20. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now we're going to do the same thing for the curl. Second stitch from the hook, we put in 3 single crochets. You're going to put in 3 single crochets in each stitch up until one before. Okay, so we're just going to keep doing the same thing. All this does is make some of the curly cues a little longer than the others. That was my goal on this one. Not much, just enough to make a little bit of a difference. So I will see you at the end of this row of the curly cue. Okay, now I am 1 stitch before. Yes, they're a little loose, but they will not come out. And then at the end, you will weave it in. So now I'm back on the half double. See where my stitch marker is right here? So I'm going to go right in the back loop only. I'm going to put a half double crochet in. And then I'm going to take my stitch marker out. Move that up, right up. And now we're going to just do half double crochets all the way down. Back loop only. Now there's a reason we're changing the yarn at the top instead of the bottom. We want this bottom rim to look even and neat, and you don't want to see, even if you're the neatest end weaver, you'll be able to see that you're weaving in ends down there. So doing it at the top of the hat, they're not going to see it. That is why I've chosen to do it that direction. You go in your last stitch where your stitch marker is. Take your stitch marker out, chain 1, turn, put a half double crochet in that first stitch, and then put my stitch marker back in there. This forces my hand at not having to guess where my stitches are. I don't have to count stitches because those stitch markers just don't lie. And then we're coming up for our second pass. And remember, we're working in the back loop only. So after I put it in where my stitch marker is, take my stitch marker out, move that up, and then this yarn you will cut, and then you will put on your first color, and then you'll chain 16 and do your curly. So it's repeating that same pattern. Okay, until you get the length that you need. So for the length for a child 3 to 10, about 18.5, 19 inches long. An adult small, 20 to 21. Adult medium, 22. Adult large, 23. And they're all inches. And then what you will have, let me see if I can bring it up a little bit. Get some of my stuff out of the way. You will have something that should look like this with all the curly cues. See, all that. Looks really neat, doesn't it? Now, as you can see, I left my stitch markers in, and what I did is I marked my wrong side with a stitch marker, so I remember where I weaved in on my ends. So we're gonna fold this together with the wrong side facing you, all right? And then you're gonna go in, there it is, to your first stitch. See how you left this bottom? Like I told you to do the back ends. That works out so, if you can see it. By doing the back horizontal bar, it leaves you with a full stitch. Very nice. So you're going to put your hook in this very first stitch, and I did not chain one to lock this in, but I did leave myself a nice long tail. So I'll put my hook in here, pull it closed in the loop, pull it through, and chain one. Now you're going to work in the back loops only. So you put your hook in the back loop of your first chain, back loop of the second one, grab your yarn, bring it through both, and slip stitch. And that's what you're going to do for this whole row, is we're going to slip stitch this together. Just the back loop only, so that's the loop farthest away from you on each one. Now that I started this, I can take that stitch marker out. But we're gonna just keep going down the row. Until we meet the end. Now if you're off by a stitch or two, you can fudge it a little bit. It's really okay. As long as you're not off by a ton, it's really okay to be off by one or two. I've been off a lot. It happens to me more than you want to even recognize. And it looks like I did looser crochets here than I did here. So anyway, so we're going to slip stitch all the way up, and I'm going to meet you. All right. I did the full seam. Here I am at the end. I can take that stitch marker out now. Now I am going to chain one and cut my extra yarn. And I can take that stitch marker out because that was telling me the wrong side. Now we want to cinch this together, but when you cinch it, when we pull it tight, we want to push these curlicues in because that's our right side. So I'm going to get a yarn needle. I am going to choose to use white yarn for this. You can choose whatever color you would like. Pushing them in right this minute is not necessary. So you can start where you want, but so what we're going to do is we're going to weave our needle just back and forth, but make sure you don't get into those big gaps. Just weave it and make sure you leave a tail, okay? So we're going to just weave our hook, our needle, our darning needle, back and forth just along the edges. But like I said, please do not weave into one of those large gaps, because when we cinch this, you really don't want those large gaps. So all I'm doing is weaving my darning needle back and forth, in and out, up and down. But again, you really don't want to go into those large gaps. See, there's a gap. Don't want to go in there. But I'm staying as close to the top as possible. I'm going to come as close to where I started as possible without going in to the same spot. Okay. Now when you pull, it's going to start bringing it in. So, without going off camera, I'm tucking in my curlies, as you can see. Now, I'm going to turn the hat. See? And then I'm going to just keep pulling and pulling. Now, see, you still have a little bit of a gap. So what I want you to do is you tie this, pull it as tight as you can without, don't break the yarn, and you can make a knot. Okay, and then I'll turn it back, and then I take my yarn and I rethread it, and then I am going to just finish sealing this opening up. See? I'm just taking your needle and going through. A couple different angles. But when you're cinching it, please remember your yarn only has so much strength. So if you pull too tight, you can snap it. And you really, really don't want to, after all this, you don't want to do that. When you're content with your cinching, you can reknot this and then weave in your ends. Okay. Put it down. Look at that. That is adorable. Absolutely adorable. And by making some longer than the others, it really works. And then you can roll up your brim, and as you can see, because we changed colors up here instead of down here, your brim is perfect. And that is how you make this beautiful curly top hat. I can't wait to see yours and your design patterns and the colors you have chosen. So please continue to join us on Whip and Chain. Maggie, Lauren, and myself want to say thank you. We received so much praise and so much love. And come join us on Facebook under Whip for Work in Progress and Chain. And we will see you there. Until next time, happy crocheting, everybody.